the following presenter. She is Triin Siil from Cybernetica, IT security and cybersecurity company. She is a privacy engineering consultant there, and her topic will center around how to marry big data analytics with the data protection to produce new kinds of official statistics. And the key bullet points of Triin are the following. Anonymity should not be the end goal in itself. Instead, let's focus on good and proper depersonalization techniques. And thirdly, but not lastly, is invite regulators to be clear on what amounts to good and qualitative anonymization under the GDPR. Triin, thank you for being with us. The year is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you can see me now. And I would like also to hear some confirmation that you can see my slides, because I did share them and I see them myself. Perfect. So let's go ahead. My name is Triin Siil. I'm a privacy engineering consultant at a company called Cybernetica. And our mission is to build future-proof technologies for secure digital societies. Today, however, I will tell you about a recent experience in how to marry big data analysis with data protection to produce new or improved official statistics. The short answer is depersonalization. But the long answer, I will provide you using an example or a case study from a joint project with Eurostat in 2020 and 2021, when we conducted a data protection impact assessment, security analysis, and a software engineering project to build a proof of concept solution for the secure private processing of longitudinal mobile network operator data in support of official statistics. The whole idea of the project was to explore organizational, technical, and legal feasibility of using mobile positioning data for the purposes of official statistics. And the result is that Eurostat is now open to support consortia of national statistics institutes and mobile network operators to continue this project in follow-up projects, testing the developed solution in real environment with real data. But how did we come to that? Today, I cannot give you a whole overview. It was a long project, and we have produced lots of documents as a result of it, which are now published and made available at a website I will provide you at one of the last slides. So I will instead focus on two key issues. First of all, why does reuse of mobile location data matter for official statistics at all? And second, what is the requirement of making anonymous, and what did we learn in making sure that we apply this requirement? However, I ask you to note that the opinions I express here in these presentations are really those of the authors of the documents and my own, so they do not represent the views or official positions of the European Commission. So let's get to it. First of all, why does it matter? Reuse of mobile location data for official statistics. Currently, the official statistics are using two data sources. The primary data source is where national statistical institutes collect data directly for statistical purposes. For example, they conduct surveys or censuses where respondents give replies, and this data is then analyzed further to create statistics. However, there is also a secondary data source where national statistics institutes reuse existing data, which was previously collected from by other entities for other purposes. Mobile location data is collected in a different area. It is collected by mobile network operators who provide telecommunication services to their clients. And this data embeds information about the approximate position and movements of mobile devices in a mobile network. So you can imagine that the tremendous potential this data can have in the hands of official statistics, because it can be used to extract information serving multiple statistical applications and use cases. For example, to calculate spatial density of a present population or patterns of human mobility. But also with all these new kinds of potential use cases, risks arise for individuals. So if we reuse mobile location data beyond the initial purpose of providing telecommunication services, this can create new risks for individuals in terms of right to privacy and right to data protection. So how to overcome these risks? Is it even feasible to reuse mobile location data for producing official statistics in compliance with current laws? Our answer as a result of this project is that yes, it is feasible, but there are 3 conditions. So first of all, according to current laws, mobile location data has to be made anonymous. Second, this making of anonymous procedure has to be compatible further use, meaning that this secondary use has to be, the secondary purpose of use has to be in compliance with the initial purpose of use. And it also has to have a valid legal basis. Due to time constraints, I will focus today on the first 2 points on the making anonymous part, but I'm happy to give you more insights on other topics as well. And I have high expectations in terms of new and more even better legal basis for these kinds of projects in the future, whereas the European Union is currently preparing new legal acts in the domain of digital strategy, namely the New Data Act is the proposal for a new data act is out. We have also seen proposal for Data Governance Act, and there is also an upcoming new e-privacy regulation. So let's hope that there will be the legal situation and legal basis will be better provided in these acts. Now coming to the second part of the presentation, how do we fulfill these 2 conditions of the requirement to make mobile location data anonymous? Data protection regulators have said that location data is notoriously hard to anonymize. However, first we have to start with describing the current procedure, how mobile network operators actually process mobile location data. And this is here depicted in green. So mobile network operators already primarily process data for telecommunication services, but the secondary purpose they use it for is value-added services to their clients. Now, what we did in this project, we tested the feasibility of using the mobile location data, which was collected by the network operator in primary processing and reusing it for secondary uses in official statistics. So the data source is the same, it's just different domains. In the first case, the data is used for private purposes in the private sector, whereas in second case, for official statistics, the use is in public domain for public purposes. And there are 3 main domains of law which apply here: e-communications, data protection, and statistics law. From e-communications law, the main rule applicable here is that mobile network operators are not allowed to allow others to reuse mobile location data. And there are only 2 exceptions to this rule. So first of all is MNOs can provide value-added services to their clients under consent. Or second exception, mobile location data is made anonymous and then can be provided to others or other uses. From data protection law, the main applicable rule is that, making anonymous is itself a type of personal data processing, meaning that it has to have a legal basis, it has to have a purpose, it has a data controller and processor, most probably. But it's also a kind of a secondary type of processing. So if we process data for the purpose of statistical use, then GDPR and its predecessors already provided a presumption of compatibility, meaning that if we reuse it for statistical purposes, this is allowed as a compatible purpose if appropriate safeguards are applied. And you already may notice that there is a kind of a conflict between the condition from e-communications law requiring mobile location data to be made anonymous and data protection law requiring appropriate safeguards to be applied. The third area of law, statistics law, provides an additional layer of protection requiring statistical confidentiality, meaning that the National Statistical Institutes must use confidential data exclusively for statistical purposes and not disclose it unlawfully, including not re-identify individuals. So let's now focus on the conflict between e-communications and data protection law. The EU law in this area is primarily pillared in two regulations. So in e-communications, we currently have the e-privacy directive, which is adopted already before GDPR. And the data protection regulation relies on general data protection regulation, which is a directly applicable law adopted in 2016 and applicable since 2018. So the e-privacy directive is a lex specialis in terms of data protection law, meaning that unless there are any specific rules in this directive, the general rules on data protection apply. And for our use case, mobile location data, there is a specific rule saying that this kind of data may only be processed further if it's made anonymous. However, e-privacy directive does not provide any rules for what is or how do we measure if data has been made anonymous. There is a new e-privacy regulation underway, but it's still in legislative procedure. And this means that we have to look for clues for understanding what is made anonymous from the general data protection regulation. However, the criteria for anonymity have a little bit changed since the GDPR was adopted. And the guidelines for evaluating it are also from pre-GDPR era. New guidelines are in the process of being developed, and they should come out now in 2022 by the European Data Protection Board. But at the time of the project, they were not published. So when we look at the different depersonalization techniques available, then in pre-GDPR era, about 7-8 years ago, when the e-privacy directive was, and even more longer when the e-privacy directive was last updated, there were many privacy-enhancing technologies and anonymization techniques and pseudonymization available, and people already started to know what is differential privacy and federated learning as well. However, in the last years, this area of technology has developed further very quickly. We now have on the table different kinds of technologies enabling depersonalization in new ways, starting with fully homomorphic encryption and ending with trusted execution environments, which happens to be the technology we applied in this project. So time has changed, technology has evolved, and there is inconsistency between the lex specialis of e-communications law and the general law of the data protection regulation. So how to manage this kind of state of flux? What criteria do we apply if making anonymous is really the only legally feasible approach to implementing the proof of concept solution in practice? What we did was follow 4 steps. We took a conservative approach to anonymity. We tried to rely on objective grounds independent of technology used, meaning we tried to observe the principle of technology neutrality. Thirdly, we accepted that there will always remain an inherent residual risk of re-identification. And fourthly, we took a lot of effort to make sure that this risk is insignificant. So what we learned throughout this project is that anonymity itself should not be an end goal. Instead, what companies and organizations and people should focus on is designing robust systems using proper depersonalization techniques. And what they also should do is to invite regulators to qualify such systems as appropriate technical and organizational measures or safeguards in protecting the rights of data subjects. Because it's very hard work to assure privacy and design really privacy-preserving processing of personal data. And we need assurance, understanding, and more clarity and transparency into what are the appropriate technical organizational means. So this is my invitation to the regulators. Please have a look at the project, at the results, at the documentation, and please give indication or contest us if you think that our work has not been enough to protect the mobile location data. I thank you for your attention, and Here's the link to the project materials, which are all published. Happy to continue the discussion and hope I managed to at least start the discussion in terms of reusing mobile location data for official statistics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Triin, for interesting presentation. Really, mobile data has a big, tremendous potential for being used for public good, for public needs. And as far as the anonymization is concerned, I take a very sincere and precise takeaway where you say that even after usage of any of the techniques mentioned, there remains residual risk of re-identification, which should be insignificant and which can't be avoided, but which should be managed. So the question in respect of this technique is, what is the time frame and how you handle, or what are the techniques to handle with a time horizon? Because what is now acceptable level of anonymization might be totally unacceptable in 5 or 10 years. So how to deal with this time zone or time frame problem in re-identification risk minimization context? Triin?
Well, I think the time management starts by properly deciding what is the purpose of the processing. Because if this is clear, then the answer, how long do we actually need the data, is kind of self-evident. If you have a clearly defined focus and purpose, you can clearly define the time frame during which you need the data. For this project, considering really the sample use case, just an example of how this data could be used in the future, we decided that the time frame should be just 1 year maximum. And all the interim data outputs or data conclusions could be even eliminated already beforehand. So the only thing that remains really is the statistics results, which is already aggregated and already made subjects to different statistical disclosure techniques. So the only thing that might remain is the pure information, what we can gather from a whole population instead of individual insights.
Thank you. Clear answer. Once again, thank you, Triin, for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you.